Hello, with the new course English for Specific Purposes or ESP. First, I want to speak about the definition of ESP because from what I have noticed from your answers on questions 5, there was some misunderstanding of what this course is. I want to draw attention on two definitions, and especially the first one, which puts communication as the main focus of ESP. According to this definition, ESP is that area of English language teaching which focuses on preparing learners for chosen communicative environments. This was given from Mohan in 1986. And then another definition by Hutchinson and Waters, 2002. If we understand that ELT is a tree, then ESP will be a branch of that tree with communication and learning as its roots. Then another definition speaks about the characteristics of ESP. So an ESP course, in order to be called an ESP course, must have some absolute characteristics, which are listed here. So it has to be designed for learners' needs. It has to be related to the discipline it serves in terms of methodology. And it is definitely a language course and must be taught by a language teacher. Because from experience, especially here at SEU, in the past and at the time of establishment of SEU, ESP was referred to as terminology. And what some colleagues did, they actually taught some specific legal vocabulary, but just vocabulary in English, words in English. There was no language in use, there were no real life situations, it was not based on learners' needs, it was just pure artificial language, while we learned from the previous definition that communication is the main focus of ESP courses. Then the variable characteristics, which can vary in different situations, are that ESP courses are related to specific disciplines. So this is a variable from which discipline it refers. It is usually designed for adult learners, and it is usually designed for intermediate and advanced students and not for beginners. So this means that ideal ESP context are learners which have some background in English, which are not beginners. They have the background in English, and then on that they can upgrade their knowledge in ESP. Of course, ESP can be started with beginners, but ideally a good ESP setting is with adult, intermediate or advanced learners. In your article, there were more divisions of ESP, but the most common one and the simplest one is on English for academic purposes, or shortly EAP, and English for occupational purposes, or EOP. Examples for English for academic purposes is English for academic purposes but for medical students, or English for legal purposes but for academic level, which is different from, let's say, English for medical purposes for doctors, practitioners. So these are the same courses, the same disciplines, medical students and medical students. But in the first case, in the English for academic purposes, these medical professionals are students, so they learn about the terms which they're going to use in the future in practice, while it will be different from English for medical purposes. For example, certain doctors at a hospital who are already practicing that English. This is the main division. And now, based on these definitions, I would like to explain the answers on these questions. A course in remedial grammar for business people, with each unit based on a particular grammatical weakness identified by tests, is not English for specific purposes. Why? Because the course is in grammar, and grammar is not related to their profession. They are business people, but there is no communication, and there is a needs analysis, but the needs analysis is not done on their needs. The needs analysis is identified, the weakness is identified by tests. This is definitely not an ESP. A course that teaches undergraduate engineering students from various branches, civil, electrical, mechanical, etc., to write reports on design projects is an ESP course, because here we have specific discipline, specific needs, and specific texts from those fields. A course that teaches reading skills to a group of postgraduate students from a range of disciplines studying in a British university, with texts use of general academic nature but exploited to teach specific reading skills, it's not, again, English for specific purposes. It's an academic reading course and there is no specific discipline. It's academic English. A course designed to prepare students for the Cambridge first certificate examination, based on a careful analysis of the contents of the tests, is again not an English for specific purpose, because there is no specific discipline involved. This is just a simple preparatory course to pass the first certificate examination. A course designed to teach social English to a group of business people and the level of the students' English is intermediate is an English for specific purposes, because they have specific needs. So social English is their specific need, the discipline is specific, they are business people, and the level is appropriate for a business English course. Then a course team taught with a subject lecturer that helps postgraduates of a particular discipline understand departmental lectures is a typical example of English for specific purposes for academic purposes. Why? Because an expert is involved and there is a specific discipline involved. And I would say that ideally ESP is taught by a team. One, and it is shared among two teachers. The language is taught by the English teachers, by a language expert, but the content area is taught or assisted, the language teacher is assisted by a professional in that discipline. Maybe the best way to understand what English for specific purpose is just to show you the example of the organization of SEU English courses. Here at SEU, all students take basic skills English, 4 levels, and the level is determined by test. When they reach level 4, they take English for specific purposes, which is different for different faculty. For example, students from law faculty take English for legal purposes. Students from computer sciences take English for computer sciences. Students from communication take English for communication sciences, and students from public administration and political sciences take English for specific purposes for public administration and political sciences. And basically, the vocabulary, the texts that are selected, which will be seen later in material selection, are related to the field of, let's say, public administration and political science. Then there are more skills that are needed for work. Actually, that material selection and creation of the syllabus is done based on their specific area.